Good day folks, RagingRaptor here and I welcome you to a reaction video. So we are not RagingRaptor, we are ReactionRaptor now. Man, I'm so brilliant when it comes to names. Now in today's video, you might already see it up here. I want to talk, or rather watch with you, the Czechoslovakian heavy tanks reveal video. I didn't watch it so far, but I already got some information from Felix because he wanted to discuss some stuff with me. And from what I've heard, it looks very interesting. I'm very happy about that. Like, it looks like this Czechoslovakian heavy tank tree will be a very balanced and very unique, but on the same way very open to you as a player, as you can decide if you want to have the double shot or the normal shot gun. So that is very nice, and without further ado, I personally would say we just jump right in.
Introduction of new tanks to our game is a constant and natural process which draws a lot of players' attention, especially if the new vehicles prove to be really interesting. That's exactly what happened to the Czechoslovakian medium tanks.
I don't really see where exactly those Czechoslovakian medium tanks were exciting. Like, they are unique, yes, but I also want to talk about one thing in particular in this direction. Because wargaming, sadly, like, at least in World of Warships, which is also wargaming, but it's like a separate division, not to World of Tanks related. But the thing is, in World of Warships, they try immensely hard to make things unique and exciting and gimmicks. Like, the box of gimmicks, how youuuu would call it, is rather big in World of Warships. I feel like in World of Tanks we don't really need that. Like, as long as the tank is unique, or as a tank, for let's just say, let's get the MBT-70 into the game. We start to get layered armor with the Czechoslovakian heavy, with the Bisonte, so it would in theory work with the with the MBT-70. Then you could say, that's it. We don't need to make it any more special, just as it is. Sure, it has hydropneumatic suspensions and we have the mechanic, but we don't really need it. There's so many tanks in this game which a lot of people just want because they are unique or have a name for them. They don't have to need a special mechanic. So for example, if we now start to talk, wargaming, we want to have the Object 120 Taran, which is basically the S130 PM chest with a huge bubble head and a 152mm long rifled gun, you know? They don't want it because it might have a unique mechanic, it's because it's a unique tank. So I always feel like that wargaming forgets about that. But again, it might just be me, that I consider tanks, they need not to be unique or exciting, you know. They just need to be new tanks, and new tanks are always great.
These fast and maneuverable vehicles with an excellent autoloader indeed have brought unique gameplay to the game.
I don't know, really.
Now we introduce a new Czechoslovakian heavy tank branch. The tanks will be tested very soon. But first, let's learn a little bit more about these vehicles.
That's very interesting to hear that they will get tested very soon. So I guess that update 1.12.1 is going to hit very soon-ish, like maybe next week. And then we'll probably get this test server in like 3 weeks notice. Could work, because again, we already discussed the Skoda T56, which apparently is a premium, that it's a very cool feature, that it already looks very fleshed out. So chances are that we are getting those tanks in like 2 to 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks, because they're going to be the super test iteration on test server. Yeah, let's start with the I guess tier 7.
During the Second World War, Czechoslovakian industry received a lot of advanced military technologies. This potential, alongside the USSR's influence in post-war times, was actualized in the concepts of heavy combat vehicles. Czechoslovakian engineering companies formed their own vision of what new heavy tanks could be. All this was taken into account during the reconstruction of a series of conceptual drafts that made up the new Czechoslovakian heavy tank branch in World of Tanks.
Here I want to stop and be very precise. They clearly say it themselves. It's a reconstruction of conceptual drawings. None of those tanks existed and none of those tanks were ever made. That's what this basically tells me. And that is obviously a little bit saddening in that regard. Again, this is just how I interpret the saying they are saying. Because we already discussed Romanian Tech Tree. Sure, there are some tanks which aren't made, like the TAA. But still, you know, it would be very interesting for us as a player to actually have tanks which existed, you know. And again, this is something which I think a lot of people want to have as well in a game. That they want to have tanks and tank concepts which have existed rather than having literally paper drawings of something with, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, suddenly
the first
some special things, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I tried to find the stupid concept drawing in my paper, in my book, you know, about mechanical elements, but I couldn't find anything. Yeah. The first heavy Czechoslovakian heavy tank, was the Skoda T45. It is underwhelming, in my opinion.
In heavy tank is the Skoda T45 Tier 7 premium tank. It is easy to trace the influence of German tank building in this vehicle. The overall hull geometry and turret shape clearly denote that. Besides, the Skoda T45 suspension consists of 3 bogies per side, in which the rollers are interlocked in pairs. For Ferdinand Porsche and his colleagues, this technical solution was quite typical. In terms of gameplay, the vehicle decently performs the duties of a heavy tank. It has pretty good frontal armor, nice maneuverability for a heavy tank, and comfortable gun handling.
Yeah,
the
that's
Skoda
true.
T45 is a sort of workhorse that will be the perfect vehicle to train the Czechoslovakian heavy tanks crew. The researchable branch will start from Tier 7 with the VZ44-1. The transition will be available from the Skoda T25.
Okay, now we know Skoda T25. Have fun playing a very nice Tier 6 autoloader. So yeah, that is interesting. I'm actually very glad that it starts there, because I know a lot of people really don't like the T34-100 or the TVP VTU. So that is very nice that it starts at Tier 6. Onwards to Tier 6.
Just like the premium tank, this vehicle is the result of an interpretation of Skoda's work and practices on orders for Porsche. It is easy to notice the common elements of these two tanks, and some differences. This tank is simple and easy to master, created to simplify the transition from medium to heavy tanks. Tier 8 is represented by the TNH 105-1000.
Like, the Tier 7, again, it's wargaming's interpretation how something could have a look. That's what, and the conceptual drawings or some concepts and so on and so forth. Like, look, I don't know. Let's move on to the TNH.
The project of this tank refers to the post-war period when Czechoslovakia was already armed with Soviet tanks. This can be clearly seen in the vehicle's appearance. It still shows the influence of the German school of tank building. Nonetheless, there are some noticeable Soviet elements. The turret's additional armor reflects both the extensive experience gained by the Soviet Union and the impromptu variants of tank workshops or wartime factories. The welded hull, in terms of armor thickness and welding methods, resembles that of Soviet heavy tanks. But the main difference between the TNH 105-1000 and its predecessor isn't its look. The Czechoslovakian heavy tank's hallmark is having 2 guns to choose from. The first one fires in a cyclic mode. The second has an autoloader with 2 shells. Both guns will be set up as top guns. Therefore, you'll be able to pick.
That is exactly what I was talking about in the beginning of the video, and I really do like that it gives us, the players, the opportunity to decide what gun we want to take. Do we want to have normal cyclical mode, or do we want to have the burst mode? Like, that is nice that we have to decide if we want to have the normal gun or the burst gun. That is something which I was advocating for quite some time, that wargaming should give us those abilities. And that's very great to see that they learned from the E100 in that regard. The E100 also was, in that sense, rebuilt, that you can use both guns. Both are top guns, which you can use and have fun with. So that is a very, very nice shift of balancing, in my opinion. By the way, I do feel like this tank is more looking towards the 53 TP than rather any Russian heavy tank. Like, look at the IS-3, the T10, or the something. Don't see those influences except for maybe the turret. It's also interesting to see that they experiment more and more with spaced armor. That is also interesting to see. And lastly, 320 Alpha versus the 460 of the premium tank, because the Skoda T56 will be a premium tank, probably even a marathon tank, because Wargaming likes to do that. Now, that's a big-ass yikers in my opinion.
Pick the gun that best suits your playstyle, with no loss of firepower. Tier 9 is occupied by the TNH TVZ-51. This tank is no longer influenced by German tank building and is a joint Czechoslovakian-Soviet project. In comparison with its predecessor, this heavy tank is even more heavily armored and more durable. However, it also has the same option to choose between two top guns. The caliber of both guns increased from 105 to 122 mm.
Imagine the Tier 8 Premium has literally still 70 Alpha more than a Tier 9 tank. I do like the looks of them, and I do like the fact that more and more space armor is getting added to the game. I don't know if this is in preparation of the HE changes, if they come through, and I really do hope they are not getting through. But we will see. Like, maybe we get a rework of heat in general, that spaced armor is getting more effective. Who knows?
Millimeters in comparison with its younger brother, and its gun handling also improved. It is the caliber of the autoloader guns that is the visible tier-to-tier progression of the Czechoslovakian heavy tanks. Because unlike other branches with autoloaders, the number of shells in the Czechoslovakian branch remains the same, 2 shells. The crown jewel of the branch is the VZ-55.
It's
the influence of Soviet.
It's so weird. Like, yeah, like, I guess the influence of Soviet tank building can be seen most clear in this tank. Yeah, obviously, because wargaming is Minsk-based game, you know, Russian influence is there. And it definitely has, as already mentioned, the looks of the composite armor plates of the T62M, as we just saw before. I like the concept, but I don't know, like... that's just that it is paper projects. Nothing ever existed of this thing is kind of meh to me.
Tank building can be seen the most clearly in this tank. The welded hull with additional armor is not the only feature. Here, it is also expressed in the elements of its running gear, suspension, wheel arms, shock absorbers, and bump stops.
Yeah, but who gives a shit? Like, seriously, who gives a shit? Like, who needs to know that shit? I want to know what is the characteristics, what is the playstyle going to be.
The original Czechoslovakian tank hull, in terms of armor plate thickness and connection, is also similar to Soviet solutions. It is clearly seen if we compare the VZ-55 with the IS-7 or the Object 277. Quite a low silhouette, a proportional hull, and excellent armor.
As you can see, all of those so far have pretty big cupolas, so I guess Wargaming doesn't want to run the risk to have another hold-down behemoth in that regard.
Indeed, these tanks have something in common. In terms of dynamics, the VZ-55 is outmatched by the IS-7 and the Object 277.
That's a
but
low
the gun
amount
caliber is the same. 2 130mm guns to choose from. 1 cyclic and 1 with an autoloader. Pick the one you like the most. Damage per shot is excellent, 490 HP. The 2-shell autoloader remains. Other characteristics require fine adjustment and may change. Conceptually, the technical characteristics of both guns are as follows. Accuracy and aiming time are not so great, but are compensated for by good stabilization. Besides, it is planned to have a short reloading time of around 3 seconds for the gun with an autoloader. Such vehicle parameters will be the motivation to play on the front line.
That 3 seconds for 490 burst. Hold on a second, VG. Hold on a second. Like, yeah. 490 alpha, by the way, boys. 490 alpha. So we can round it up to 1000 burst or 980 burst in 3 seconds. Hold on a second. Where is the Rinoceronte? Where is the Rinoceronte? He has a 4-second interclip, and this was apparently too... Like, this tank was too OP when it would have better DPM and so on and so forth. And now we have a tank which is literally a lot easier to play than the Rinoceronte in that regard. I don't know. I don't know, boys. I don't know. We'll see when the parameters come out. It's a little bit weird that the Rinoceronte has been nerfed so many times during development. And now we have basically the Rinoceronte, but in easier to play, I guess? I don't know. Maybe.
Their armor allows them to fend off enemy attacks, while decent damage per shot and gun stabilization will bring nice results. And if you choose the gun with an autoloader, the amount of damage you can deal in certain situations can be huge. In addition to the Czech heavy tank branch and the Tier 7 premium vehicle, there will be another premium tank, but this time it will be a Tier 8 vehicle, the Skoda T56. Its distinctive features are a gun with a 2-shell autoloader and a caliber of 130mm, menacingly big at Tier 8. This heavy tank will cause 460 HP of damage per shot, one of the highest values at Tier 8. But this comes with some risks.
Okay, I do have to say I'm sorry. I forgot about the VK7501K, my preview of the Skoda T56. Because fuck that tank. It's garbage. I hate it. I genuinely hate it. It can burn in hell. Seriously, in heck. Stupid ass tank. But yeah, Wargaming. This here, the Skoda T56, would be an amazing way of introducing a mechanic like the tech branch. A mechanic where you are allowed on a premium tank to decide if you want to have the cyclic gun or the burst gun. Come on, Wargaming. It shouldn't be too hard. World of Warships already has it. You can do it for World of Tanks. That would be amazing to decide if you want to have 460 alpha and that's it, or you want to have the burst on the premium tank. That would be amazing.
The vehicle will go to testing in the very near future. In case the damage per shot is too great, the tests will see one more configuration of this tank. It will have less damage per shot, maybe a smaller caliber, and a different set of aggregate gun characteristics. And the choice in favor of one or another option will be made based on the test results.
Alrighty! That is good to hear, that they actually consider that 460 alpha might be a little bit too much. Okay, I might have spoken too soon. But Wargaming, seriously, Wargaming. Give us the option to also have a non-cyclic gun, non-autoloader gun for the premium tank. So the players can decide. This is the whole theme of the tech tree, and it's a very, very nice theme, so keep on doing that.
The Czechoslovakian heavy tanks are definitely going to be interesting vehicles. The technical characteristics of the tanks of this branch, like the others, increase proportionally from tier to tier. At the same time, the main distinguishing features remain unchanged, the choice between 2 guns and an autoloader with 2 shells in one of the guns. All the vehicles will undergo testing very soon. Remember that the tank's characteristics are not final. They may be refined before release. We will continue to inform you of all the changes in the upcoming Czechoslovakian heavy tank branch.
Yeah, and follow obviously your CC of choice. Now, I do want to say some more final words in that regard. Let's go big again. I know, first of all, I don't know if this video was any good. Let me know in the comment section below if you actually enjoyed watching the video with me. I know it might be boring because you already have watched it. But now you had my personal input in those things. Second, I actually don't know how to do reaction videos. Third, I like the concept of those tanks. That is a very nice concept that Wargaming wants to use with the different, that you can decide which type of gun you want to have. Fourth, Wargaming really is persistent about trying to balance those tanks as well as possible. They said a lot about testing, and they also said, yeah, maybe the premium is too strong in the current iteration, so we're going to rework it. It looks like that Wargaming lately is very, very much in favor of trying to redo and rebrand themselves as a company, which is good at balancing. And I do have to say that lately things look very nice, you know. I'm still a little bit confused about the M60 buff, to be honest, especially if it's giving it a very strong turret. Same for the 121B. But everything else so far looks fairly okay. Obviously, I'm not going to look forward to having a new tank branch to grind out. It's always fun, it's always unique, and it's always nice to see, you know, you can have some fun. However, I'm not sure if this mechanic will be the strongest you can have. Because a two-shot autoloader is very easy to use and very strong. Look at the Brusque. Look at the Progetto. The 46, the premium medium tank. Because a lot of people use it as a two-shot autoloader instead of a three-shot autoloader, because simply sometimes the time is not enough. So it really comes down how Wargaming balances the gun characteristics and the interclip reload time, because I feel like most people will go for the two-shot autoloader because the amount of bursts you can do is quite strong. As you could see, 980 for the tier 10 tank, 400, 800, 780 for the tier 8 tank and the tier 9 tank, and okay, 640 for the tier 8 tank is a little bit weak if you imagine that the premium in theory has 920. I'm looking forward to them, and I will keep you up to date with everything about those tanks. So yeah, thank you very much. See you around, and I hope you have a great day. Cheers. And a weekend, obviously. It's going to be weekend.